Hello, welcome back. Still Hard Factor Nigeria Info, your number one talk station. I'm Dio. 29 minutes to go before 5 o'clock. The news update is up at 5, but for the moment, let's talk. And the conversation continues. Polls, VCs also disagree as FG shot universities. I'm asking, should universities be shot for the elections? Let's get your take via Facebook and Twitter. We're live there on. We'll get to your comment in a moment. The appropriate time to call 070 093 093. With me in the studio here is ASUU's National Investment Secretary, Dr. Austen Sado. Dr. Sado, you're welcome back.
Thank you very much.
So before the break, I had to interrupt you. You were responding to the question what the process should have been after the Minister of Education, possibly with the NUC as well, consulted security agents and determined that it was a safe bet to shut down the universities. You were responding to what the proper procedure should have been.
Yeah, I was saying that it should also have been a consultation. And once the Vice Chancellors understand that there is need for the universities, their various universities, to be shut, they will take back that message, convene a Senate of their universities, and determine that there is need to adjust the academic calendar of the university. And that will give, that will be the pedestal on which the date of closure and the date of resumption will be. In this case, what has happened is just a directive: go and close the universities. And as I said earlier on, some universities may even have proceeded on short break before that period. And you wonder, when you have security report in this country, security report, for me, I don't take them seriously, because those security people will have known that some of these universities are already on break. So why take a general decision and make it look as if the universities are appendages of the Ministry of Education? They are not. Obviously, they are not. Universities are creations of the law of this nation, and they are governed. Its governance is determined also by the provisions of the law setting those universities, including the University Miscellaneous Act. So it's overreaching for the minister or for the executive secretary of NUC to do that consultation. You don't have to come public to tell us that you are the big person. We don't need big people actually to run our systems. We need people to stick to the rules. We need the system to observe this procedure, be self-regulated, be controlled within, but subject to the supervisory or regulatory authorities that have been set over them.
I ask you this next question, not as an executive of ASUU or any other labor union for that matter, but as an individual, as a Nigerian. From your assessment of things, do you suppose or do you suspect that there are security concerns serious enough for us to shut universities or shut tertiary institutions for the duration of the elections?
I don't think so. Because in some of our universities in the north, lecturers are being kidnapped every day, and those schools were not shut down. Lecturers are, in fact, I think it's what's the name? Dutsema. It's close to the place where they attacked. There was one assistant commissioner of police sometime last year or so around that environment. Many of those people can't even sleep in their homes. The state of insecurity in Katsina State, have they shut down the school? They haven't. So I don't know what relationship this election and security has to do across the nation. Whether they are going to bring, I can't imagine, because the universities actually, in the true sense of it, many schools are away from the communities. So I don't imagine that a lot of people are going to come from outside the university to vote inside the university. I don't also imagine that many students who live far away from the universities they will have registered to vote in the university. There are students in Uniport here who probably live as far as Borokiri, as far as Elelewon, as far as Ahmadiyya and all that. nobody's going to come to vote here from among those people. I can't actually fix it. In my wildest imagination, why insecurity is a problem or a reason to close down universities, I just cannot think about it, because we are already in a state of insecurity across this nation, but we are surviving. We're moving on. Are people dying? Yes. Is it likely that people are going to be exposed to any state of insecurity beyond what has been because of the election on the election day? I don't think so. Apart from those places where you still have there's insurgency and terrorism within the precincts of those universities.
The lines are open right now. Join the conversation, if you will, to call 070-0923-0923. That's 070-0923-0923. Also via facebook.com/Nigerian Federation. I know in the course of the conversation you have touched on it somewhat, maybe even more than once, but I'd like to ask you directly. How about the argument? Now, for the Minister of Education and his lieutenants, they are putting forward security concern as the issue. But NANS and some other student individuals or bodies have also been clamoring for this, as a matter of fact. And like this lady you referenced in some video a while ago, their argument is that the closure of the universities or shutting them down for the elections will enable students to vote. And if the schools are in session, or at least some of them, it might hinder their ability to vote. What do you have any thoughts on that?
I actually don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with whether or not they have shut the university. My problem, and I think that is what the president of ASUU addressed, is the way and manner this has happened. The university system cannot be controlled by NUC. The day-to-day governance of the university cannot be controlled by NUC or the Ministry of Education. So whether or not they want the students to be at home, that's not my business. I'm saying that in every university we have academic calendar, and many of those universities who are keeping to the academic calendar, some of them just opposed one over the other to ensure that the lost time during the last strike was gained back, and the government is saying closed down for 2 or 3 weeks. So the same group of people who were shouting, who were clamoring, we want to go, we want to finish, they are not interested in finishing anymore. And you ask yourself, what's the relationship between examination and this, or staying in school and this? Even as you say that Nance is asking, my response to that is, what about those students who registered? Because we have never shut down schools during registration. So logically, what it means is that many students registered in their school apart from last year. And that was just, it wasn't planned. The university system was on strike, and so students were at home, and by default they had to register at home. Is there any reason to close down the school for those students particularly, while not thinking about the other students? And when you say you have shut down the school and maybe the halls of residence, you ask them to go, where will those particular students sit? So, but that's not my responsibility. I'm simply making a clarification that the university is not an appendage of the Ministry of Education. The university is an autonomous institution governed by the governing council of the university and the senate of the university. In this respect, specifically, the senate of the university is the one with the power. And if for any reason the government, the minister, or whoever, including the students, if there's any reason they imagine that they should not be in school during the election, you don't come out with an open directive to the university system, not a specific university, to the university system, and ask them to shut down when there is no state of emergency. The senate of the university should live up to its responsibility. Even after this announcement, I can assure you that no university will be shut down without reference to the senate. So why was the jamboree?
Once again, lines open 070-0923-0923 is the number. Taking your calls right now. Join in as well via facebook.com/NigeriaInfoPH, via Twitter as well @NigeriaInfoPH. Doc, hello, hard fact to welcome. Please go ahead.
Hello.
Hi, go ahead, please.
Yes, my opinion is that it is very unfortunate for a system that has failed the educational system and that shut down the educational system through strikes on their own failure, not fulfilling the agreement they severally signed with ASUU. Only come up to pay half salaries to ASUU and want to shut down universities now to use students for election. It will not work. There's nothing like insecurity in the system. They will only dismiss students that do not know who to vote. For us, a system that has failed us, we will not vote them in. We know what they are doing. That's my take.
All right. Hard fact to welcome as well. 070-0923 is still the number to call. Once again, join our Twitter and Facebook at Nigerian for page bar Twitter at Edge on issue Twitter. That's a welcome development coming. FG to allow students take part in the process of electing their leaders. Also via I'll go back to Facebook shortly. Hard fact to welcome, please go on.
Hello.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah. Good evening.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah. This is Mr. Kingsley. I want to find out something from Doc. I believe strongly that Doc have children. Let me just present a question to Doc. I want Doc to answer that very question. Doc, if your children are in a state like Katsina or Sokoto, schooling there, will you oppose federal government declaring public holiday within this very period that we have to have?
Kingsley, before you end the call, I would like to ask you this. Are you aware that throughout the course of this conversation, Dr. Sado has repeatedly said that he has no problem with the school shutting down? I don't get the essence of that question, because once again, repeatedly he has...
And there's some information that is privy to the council and the president, which the ASUU might not be aware of. So, if it's a decision that schools should shut down for 3 weeks, I think it's for the betterment of the general population, because you don't expect the president to invite the ASUU when they have some very serious security issues or they have information, because they've not been inviting them for that and they are not a member. So I think the 3 weeks will not make the students not to graduate.
So you don't think that it would have been a good idea to consult with vice chancellors and the management of the schools, not necessarily telling them that they have information that ISIS is doing something or ISWAP is about to do, not necessarily divulging some national security information, but simply consulting them? You don't think that's necessary?
You and I know what's
no. You and I may not know what to think. But you don't think consulting them is necessary?
Consulting the ASUU?
Consulting not ASUU. Once again, have you been following this conversation at all? ASUU does not determine when schools open or when schools close.
Following your conversation, and
okay.
You know that the federal government has not been shutting down schools before now. But they have a reason for the decision they took for this, which you might not be aware of, and even the ASUU might not be aware of. They have a reason. They've not been shutting down schools before now. So, for ASUU to kick against it, I don't think...
Once again, I'd like to say to you, as I said to the previous call as well, ASUU is not kicking against the schools being shut down. My guest here has said repeatedly that he has no problems, and ASUU doesn't have any problem with the school being shut down. It's simply the process.
Well, they've communicated through the NUC to the schools. That's what I think.
Well, maybe I should just add a little word. You started by saying that